Well, speaking of terrible editing, should we talk about Godzilla versus King Kong?
Um, were we talking about terrible editing?
TikTokers, just in general, you know.
There are some bad
It's
edits
called
on
it's called
TikTok,
a terrible segue.
but there's also really good ones. And just like TikTok, there being good edits and bad edits, this movie has both.
It does. Okay, so I tried finding the Japanese dub with English subtitles for King Kong
So
versus Godzilla.
here's the problem. You have to get the Criterion collection in order to see the original Japanese.
So all I got to see was the English version.
But the English version isn't bad.
No, not by any means. I was a bit more excited for the film going into it than I came out of it. Not to say that I didn't enjoy the film. I did enjoy the film.
I think it's more entertaining than Raids. Raids again.
I'll say that the fight between Godzilla and Anguirus I really enjoyed, but yes, overall better film. More entertaining. I gotta be honest, I love that the movie starts off with just some generic white dude like, hello, I am speaking to the entire world because, well, as you know, I'm American.
I love that they had an international space station before we had gone to space.
Dude, I wasn't sure if that's what they were going for with it, but like, yeah, every time that freaking roulette casino machine would show up, I'd be like, oh, okay, so we're in space again. Nice.
It's also one of those things that I thought was so fascinating because it didn't need to be in the movie at all. It served no purpose really that of like consequence other than this is how we explain how the UN and Japan are going to connect and talk about. It's almost the best way I can describe it, and this even goes into how this movie was marketed. It feels like those interstitial in-betweens are play-by-plays about the fight that you just saw.
Right.
Like if you're watching like a boxing match or an MMA, which is funny because when they were advertising this movie, they had Godzilla and King Kong do a press conference, like shit talking each other, like they were gonna be wrestling.
That's incredible.
Yes.
So okay, so here's something before we get too deep into the film itself. Did you know this was not the first King Kong movie that Japan did?
This is the first official with RKO.
Right. So
that Toho did. They had other ones that they wanted to do, but this was the first. This is the first one that they officially had the license to do.
So there actually, in 1933, there was a film that came out in Japan called King Kong. It's one of those. It's one of those films that is lost because, well, that huge thing happened in 1945. There was also a second one that came out.
Is this the Lost films?
There are two Lost films, yeah. There was King Kong, 1933, and then I think the same year, kind of like how they did King Kong and Son of Kong over here, they did one called King Kong of Edo, which was a region in Japan.
And they were stop motion too.
I think the first one was. The King Kong of Edo was definitely live action. It was an actor in a suit, but it was much smaller. It wasn't like the King Kong that we know from the film. I think it was supposed to be like a human-sized Kong or similar sized.
Gotcha. So more of like man-ape.
Right.
Thing.
Which and it is unfortunate because these are two films that I really did want to see. But they're lost. Like there's footage that is lost.
You know, it's funny because also on the American side, there was a lost film of stop motion that was done by some of the guys that were there's a weird history to this movie.
Was it the one about the ghost something, the monster of Ghost Mountain or something like that?
Yes, it was that.
The majority of that film has been lost. Yes, there are, however, existing, I think it's like 12 and a half minutes of footage of it. And that is one that I definitely want to give a watch because it's dinosaurs.
All 12 minutes of it.
All 12 and a half minutes. Hey, man, that's a short film if I've ever seen one.
Hey, it sure is. But yeah, no, this movie had quite the lengthy, like, how this came to be. So do you know what this movie was originally going to be?
Wasn't it supposed to be like King Kong versus the Wolfman or something?
No, it was gonna be so there's a fan-made film that I think we need to add to our list, and we need to find it, called Godzilla versus the Wolfman.
Never got released. It never was completed.
Was it not? I thought it was.
Not,
I thought it was.
Not from what I've been able to find.
Okay.
Because I've done extensive. You've seen the spreadsheet.
I have. I've seen the spreadsheet. If there's any clips of that out there, I want to see it, because they utilize a similar suit to this one.
Right.
But anyways, this movie was supposed to be, it was supposed to be King Kong versus Frankenstein.
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah.
And it was gonna be like full on stop motion, and which I thought was interesting, because that's why King Kong has the weird electrical powers in this, because of the Frankenstein influence.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
We'll get to that part. I have a lot to say.
We're gonna get to it because it's strange.
This whole movie is strange. This whole film, like I said, the interceding like space station scenes always crack me up, because like, look, man, they got a fucking propeller hat in space.
They did.
That looks like a roulette table.
Like, I straight up was expecting Marvin the Martian to come out of that at any minute.
Now, on top of that, they have one, like, they have like the American, they have like, I think one of them's supposed to be French, and then they have the Japanese contact from the space station. And when he came on, I expected it to be just a dude getting dubbed over, because that's what we've been doing.
I know. I was amazed at how many scenes were actually just people speaking English,
like Japanese. Yeah.
And I need to watch the Japanese version now, because I want to see if that actually happens, or if that's just in the American. So I have a lot of I like a lot of things this movie did, and I hate a lot of I think I hate just as much of it.
Okay.
I feel very 50-50 about this movie in general.
Fair.
One of the things that I can't stand about this movie, and hated every little bit of it, well, I hate the way Kong looks. No, it's just an ape mask, like an ape costume that you could get from Party City.
Yeah.
And I hate seeing that with Toho with their monstermations.
They're usually so great with it.
So I found out why Kong doesn't look right. RKO, who owns owns Godzilla, or owned Kong. Godzilla. Kong. Owned Kong. They did not want them to make it look like their Kong from 33.
Right.
So this King Kong is based off of the Japanese monkey, starts with an M. I'm trying to remember what it's called. That's it. Thank you. That's it.
Cool.
That's why it looks weird.
Well,
and doesn't look like.
Not only does King Kong looks weird, yes, I will 100% admit that. But not only did they not make a monkey that looks like the original King Kong, here's the thing I love about this movie is, in addition to the suit not looking anything like Kong, as we know and love, they didn't even acknowledge, first of all, that there was a 33 film. Second of all, they also
both of these with Kong and Godzilla, you would think that this was the first time we'd ever seen Godzilla. because of the way nobody talks everything about Godzilla. They just kind of acknowledge, oh yeah, so Godzilla is coming. And they've never been like, oh yeah, he attacked a couple of years ago.
Right.
There's none of that, and there's none of this talking about how these fighter pilots froze him in that iceberg that he was in. Nothing. And it's just like, why is it so jolted the way that we're talking about how Godzilla exists?
I will say this. Okay, so I want something very specific happens pretty early, I think, with once Godzilla reawakens, where a child is like, "Mom, can we go see Godzilla?"
That's immediately after, when they're like, "We're getting out of here because Godzilla's coming." Yeah. Do you know why they did that?
I don't know why they did it in movie, or with the production, but you know what? It had a very strong feeling. Like, you remember in Ghostbusters 2 when they're talking about how they saved the city like 4 years ago and nobody remembers it?
Yeah, that's how this feels.
It's the same kind of thing, yeah.
It's how this feels. I completely agree. So they have that moment because this is why this is the movie that changed Godzilla's trajectory during the Showa era.
Right.
Because the Honda, the director, hated this. They were hard shifting the movie for children. Because all of a sudden kids were like, I love Godzilla. I want to see Godzilla and see all this stuff. So this is why this movie is more comical,
right,
in tone, and changes its whole direction about Godzilla's. People like, not only are people not that worried about Godzilla, they're worried. They're like, oh my gosh, Godzilla's coming. But it's no longer this existential dread of
it's no
Godzilla.
Longer like, this is the end of our world.
Now it's kids are like, I want to see Godzilla, and they're just like, these kids these days. Like, she might as well have rolled her eyes and clicked her lips. Gosh dang it. I should have raised you better. I can't believe, just
like, here's the thing.
And child is directed. That child is the catalyst. That is the audience speaking.
Right.
Like,
so we're getting very much ahead of ourselves talking about that kid, but like,
it's an actual point though.
No,
like,
for sure.
This is
the only real even reference that we get to the previous films for Godzilla stance is the fact that he wakes up in Hokkaido.
Right, because they're like, well, we have to explain how Godzilla comes back, so let's have him break out of the iceberg.
I love that they mispronounced Hokkaido the entire film.
I was amazed they let that slide.
Oh, it's the 60s. Nobody really cared. Everyone was on opioids.
I don't think so. But
so, all right. So here's major thing about this film that I love is, in the original King Kong, there's going to be a lot of comparisons to the original King Kong from this film.
We have to
because of how well they did at redoing the original King Kong here. And when I say how well they did,
of the island,
it was awfully done. All right. So
the people on the island were great.
Oh my God, I have some things to say about that.
Okay, let's hear it.
So this whole thing kicks off from two events happening. One, Godzilla wakes up in Hokkaido, and they're like, fuck.
Not just wakes up, but they're like, wow, there's a glowing iceberg out in the water. We should go check that out. And then the submarine crashes.
We're getting a lot of nuclear readings. The Geiger counter's going off the charts.
Wow, this Geiger counter's going crazy. I'm just like, what kind of ragtag crazy bullshit is this? Who gave these idiots a submarine?
First of all, those were Americans on that submarine.
I know.
In Japanese waters.
Yeah.
Why were they there, of all people? So, one, Godzilla wakes up, blows the shit out of that island he was on, and destroys the submarine.
Yeah.
Now, The other thing is not Carl Denham decides he wants a new mascot for his pharmaceutical company.
His pharmaceutical television company. Do you know? All right, so let's get into it. So, one, that guy is essentially the like Charlie Chaplin of Japan.
Okay, that makes sense then.
He is a comedic actor.
Right.
And that's why they make him so ridiculous. They're like, isn't this so funny?
Like, here's
this
the thing.
guy wants to own King Kong.
There are two things that I want to bring up. I
need a monster was literally the line.
So, like, okay, first of all, like, the Japanese version played it up. He was supposed to be a comedic actor, but then you double that comedy by having a American doing a super stereotypical racist Japanese accent every time he steps on screen, and it was fucking gold.
It was pretty insane.
Homeboy lands on a ship, gets out of a helicopter onto a moving ship and goes bonsai. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? So
one of my favorite moments, by the way, as soon as he is on that ship and he is like, yes, my monster, King Kong is here. He's mine. He's all mine.
As he's putting his hand on the dynamite depressor.
Yeah, as soon as he steps on, immediately. So they've got for the audience. So they have King Kong on a raft that's rigged with dynamite in case King Kong gets a little too raucous. They're just like, we'll blow him up, and they just have an active wired charge just with the full plunger and everything just on the back of the
fucking
boat.
Looney Tunes device right there.
Looney Tunes level just.
So okay, so Mr. I don't even know what his name was. The boss. They just kept calling him boss, so we're gonna just call him the boss. He's like, I need a monster to promote my new red berries that I found on this island. These berries basically do everything. They cure cancer, they cure syphilis. You got the herpes, gets rid of that. Just dab a little bit of juice.
They also are the reason why all the animals on Skull Island are massive.
It's not called Skull Island in this one, though.
It sure isn't, but I'm calling it Skull Island.
What was the name of that island? I forget. What did they call it?
I can't remember what it's called.
Faroe Island. I remember thinking it was dumb.
It's Faroe Island. And I was like, why? I didn't understand. You got the rights to call him King Kong. You didn't get the rights to Skull Island too.
Right. So,
but then also, these red berries, which by the way look delicious.
They looked like cherry tomatoes to me.
They looked like giant maraschino cherries, and I was just like, I want to eat those.
I would eat those.
But so they grow only on Faroe Island.
Right.
And everybody on the island is just harvesting the fucking shit out of these berries to make juice. But apparently this juice is also what makes all the animals big and huge. And huge. But they also get Kong like drunk. Like to the point where he's passing out.
Yeah. Man. So, okay, look, we had some horrible racial stereotypes in the 1933 film.
They're pretty oh, yeah, I was going to say, they were pretty bad in this movie.
This movie,
they're really bad.
They didn't hire black actors to play the natives. They just did a bunch of Japanese folks in blackface.
Which I had to do a double take too, because I was like, oh, are they just kind of going for like a Polynesian kind of vibe, or they're just darker? And then I saw the makeup lines. I was like, no.
Not even the makeup line. It was how shiny they all were.
It was pretty bad.
They all looked like they were just drenched with sweat all the time. And in addition to them giving Kong narcotics, they would also play him music to put him to sleep. The first monster we see on Skull Island is not King Kong. It is
it's not King Kong.
It is
I'm so happy we're talking about this.
The giant octopus that shows up pretty regularly in Toho films of giant monsters.
Yes.
And
so I can't wait to talk about this. This is the most insane thing about this whole movie.
It shows up and just starts terrorizing people. And the natives are like, oh no, we should try and stop it. And then King Kong shows up angry because he got woke up from his nap and wanting his juice boxes. So
he did want his juice box.
He beats the shit out of an octopus.
He does, but also at the same time, that octopus was trying to eat that child. So,
well, at least you know what? At least we didn't get the screaming woman in the window that looks like she was from a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh boy, no! But instead, we got a hysterical woman screaming all sorts of different levels of terror and not terror. The amount of different screams they had that woman do trying to get the child.
Yep.
Was crazy. She's screaming to the child on levels that's just kind of like, where did you go? This is a nuisance. To full on, oh my god, he's being murdered screams.
Yeah.
And then gets into the house and then is like, hey, in here? Where are you? And it's just like, I'm having whiplash from the different levels of emotion that this woman is feeling, trying to get this child out of this room, who was sent in there to get juice. Literally was sent into the house to get juice.
I gotta be honest.
It was the weirdest thing I had ever seen.
I gotta be honest. Watching King Kong fight that octopus over the juice. So, okay. Like, I
know we're calling it the juice. That's quite literally what they call it in the movie.
Yeah.
The juice.
I love that this movie will randomly, without any kind of fair warning, switch from live action bodysuits to stop motion. And it happened. Puppets. It happened with the fight against the octopus.
So
King Kong.
I want to
go for it.
I want to tell you why.
Go for it. I like it.
So this octopus was a real fucking octopus.
Oh, no doubt. I could tell from the get-go that was a real octopus.
It's not stop motion.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They got a bunch of different octopi and put them on a table and then started blowing air in its face and doing all this stuff to try to get it to react. And it wouldn't do shit. Just nothing. To then, they're pulling out fucking cigarettes and trying to burn it and to get it to do things. And they're just like, it's just not doing what we need it to do.
This octopus doesn't give a shit, man.
It's just not moving around and not doing anything. It's just kind of, it's not doing anything. It's not doing what we want.
Don't do that. That hurts.
Which is why it has some of the absolutely worst added in, like Matt over early CG tentacles just whipping around all of a sudden.
So,
but here's the other problem. That octopus got eaten by the director and the people on set.
Well, I mean, when you have an actor that's not actively participating in what you're trying to get it to do, what else are you supposed to do? Not eat it?
They had a bunch of octopus and then they just ate them when they were done.
All animals were harmed in the making of this film.
Yeah, this movie, the animals were harmed while making King Kong versus Godzilla.
I mean, they only really showed the octopus. That was the only live animal they showed.
Yeah, but still, like, look, I'm not vegetarian or anything by any means. I like vegetarian food when it's done right. You know, I like it.
You're done.
But I don't eat octopus.
Really?
Anymore. I don't anymore.
Not after this?
No. I started a couple years ago. I said I wasn't going to eat it anymore because I found out how intelligent they were. And I was like, sorry, I'm not doing it.
You know what? I'm going to disagree with you on that because, like, in my personal opinion, there is no better way to prove humanity's superiority over the other species of the planet than to eat all of them. Look, man, I would, if you ever see Total Drama Island?
You know what? The fact that I get to live in a house with AC, I feel like is my win.
That's not even close to an answer to the question I just asked you, Brandon.
What you're talking about in the sense of like superiority over other species?
Have you ever watched Total Drama Island? That was my question.
Yeah, of course I have.
Do you remember the episode when they're doing like the gross, like everybody has to eat gross stuff competition? And
one the Total Drama Island Fear Factor edition?
Basically, yeah. And then
what season was that?
That was the first season.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
They're at camp. They're doing like disgusting food challenges, and one of them is dolphin hot dogs. And you know what I have been craving since that first time I saw that episode?
Dolphin hot dogs.
Fucking penguin, man. And you keep saying I'm not allowed to eat penguin.
They mate for life. You can't eat them.
Yeah, well,
sorry. I'm gonna stand by this.
Dolphins are so I'll eat those.
Do I hear a Jose?
Hello.
I've been trying to fucking get this microphone to work ever since I popped in.
Oh, goddamn.
Well, you're here now, and we're talking about...
Okay, so piggyback off of that, Mark can 100% eat penguins because they do their own kind.
Thank you, Jose.
Human beings also their own kind, and
I think we should grind those up and turn them into hot dogs, too.
Yep. But I won't eat the hot dog.
Also dolphins.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'll eat a dolphin hot dog.
Yep.
Dolphins do that to other things too.
Yep.
Dolphins are horny, man. They fuck everything.
Dolphins are horrible creatures.
They might be.
Dolphins, there have been documented cases where dolphins will decapitate fish to use their heads as fleshlights.
They will just murder anything because of the joy of it.
Yeah, dolphins are psychopaths. Dolphins don't deserve the intelligence they've been given. Neither do humans, though. Anyway, back to the intelligent octopus that's fighting against King Kong on his island, okay?
So, also, I will say, I do love they had an octopus that they made for Kong to be able to lift.
Yeah. So
and they did a really good job. They really worked hard to make it look as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
So something that is really funny to me is the amount of special effects they did for this film, right? They did a lot.
Oh my god, they did so much and it looks bad.
It all does look bad. One of the worst moments in this film is when Kong first shows up, sees the giant octopus, picks up a rock, and throws it at the octopus, at which point it bounces off of a green screen wall.
Yeah.
I'll do you one better. Did you notice what was happening when they were throwing the spears at the octopus?
No, what happened?
There are shadows.
Oh.
There are shadows because they didn't matte paint it in. It's just a screen. And so they're literally throwing the spears and the flames and stuff at this screen with it on. And on the left side of the screen, you see a blatant shadow with every spear they throw.
Well, here's the thing. If you watch on a low quality video, you don't see the shadow.
Yeah, we were watching low quality videos, man. We went on Archive. I went on archive.org and watched this movie because that's the only place I could find it that wasn't some dumbass like review like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So
I have a copy, so I watched it that way.
Sure.
Yeah, I may go Brandon's route and like start buying them just so I can start the collection.
So,
dude, I mean, absolutely, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
So
which is crazy because I thought for sure I had seen this on streaming. And I couldn't even find it on Amazon.
I for sure thought it was on Max. Like, I know for sure.
I thought it was too. Maybe it just lapsed and they didn't. I thought it was on because of all the King Kong Godzilla shit that's on there right now.
It was, and I swear to God it was, like, for sure. But I guess it just got taken out. Like, again, like you said, maybe rotating out.
They rotate shit out, but
so with this terrible special effect fight, after Kong throws the first rock, if you pay close attention, they reuse the exact same shot of him throwing the rock and the exact same shot of the rock hitting the green screen wall.
Can we just talk about how many rocks are thrown in this movie?
There are a lot of rocks getting thrown around.
There's so many rocks thrown.
And then when Kong picks up the octopus it for that split second turns to stop animation as it flies up as his face.
Yes. Yeah.
And I when I saw that for the first time, I was like, I have to go back and watch that again in slow motion. Please.
Oh yeah, I thought my eyes were fucking with me when I first saw it. I was like, hold on, wait a minute, what was that? And I had to rewind it too.
Look, I gotta be honest, like there was a lot of things I didn't like about this movie, because but holy shit, they tried. I'll give it to them. They really tried.
Did. There were the problem is, it's just it's like what I was saying, what blew me away with King Kong. Just the fact that they matte painted in these things and it looked as good as it did. This movie did the opposite.
Right.
Everything that was a projection or they tried to paint in all looked horrible.
It looked janky.
It looked really bad. There's blatant blue screen lines on half of the things that they do.
Here's something that I thought was interesting. You remember during Kong's after the fight, oh, sorry guys, we jumped ahead. Kong kills the octopus, everyone cheers, and then Kong drinks his juice.
Say, here's one thing I would like to point out though about the octopus scene before we move on. Okay. Because I thought this is a cool little bit of information. This particular scene with the octopus was well done. To an extent. There was things that did bother me.
Was it when King Kong put his cigarette out on it too?
No, that was pretty. Yeah, that was weird. It almost felt intentional.
He kept blowing smoke right into the valves that it had on its neck.
Yeah. So, the director for the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie,
Jerry Bruckheimer,
had everybody watch this movie, that scene, because that's how he wanted the Kraken to be done. That they wanted to see how the Kraken would look on screen. That's what they wanted to shoot.
I was gonna say
terrorize the octopus, and then
Oh, he did. We did talk about that. You missed it by a minute.
Did you heard that, right?
Yeah, I was listening while I was trying to get
was it for the Kraken or was it for Davy Jones? Because the Kraken wasn't based off an octopus. It was based off of a squid, and we only ever saw its mouth.
That's what they wanted. That's how they wanted it for the. Well, in the sense of the tentacles and how they wanted the skin to look, and
yeah, I think that might have been for Davy Jones then, because
maybe
Davy
it was
Jones
for Davy Jones,
because you remember he had the tentacle face.
Well, yeah, it was just an octopus for a head.
Well, and he could play piano with his tentacles, and that was cool.
And smoke.
Do you think he was popular with the ladies?
I'm sure he was.
Especially in Japan.
I mean, hey, what's her name? He got her, the witch, the sea witch. What's
Calypso?
her name? Yeah, Calypso. Thank you.
The sea witch that was actually a deity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So this fight it's a pretty one-sided fight after King Kong manages to
There's something I want to ask y'all if y'all noticed.
Go for it.
About King Kong.
Yeah.
Did y'all notice his arms?
They were longer than human arms.
Well, only part of the time.
Yes, when he was running about like an ape, he had. Did you guys? Okay, I've been referencing a lot of different movies with special effects. Did you guys ever see The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Yeah, of course.
So you know how Mr. Hyde ran around on human-sized legs, but he had those big, bulky arms?
Yeah,
I think
an orangutan.
Yeah, they did the same thing with this version of King Kong when he was running around.
Well, they wanted Kong to look more ape-like,
right.
He would supposed to.
Right.
While he's running around to have the longer arms like an ape would. Mm-hmm. But for the fights, they just had regular arms.
Right.
Oh, shit.
Man.
So all the far away shots it's just like Kong just whoa, running around and stuff. He's got these long extended arms.
And then he gets up close and
then he gets up close and then he's just regular armed gorilla.
Yeah.
Just human arms.
Man.
It's me, a person.
Hello, yes, I am Gorilla. I am here to fight.
Gorilla. I am here to fight.
But no, like I think okay, so yes, the whole plot point of King Kong drinking the juice, getting wasted, and then the natives just kind of lullaby him to sleep with
They start lullabying him to sleep, and then they might as well have broken out into a rock opera.
Yeah, the least soothing music you could have possibly played for anybody to fall asleep to.
Not only that, it's just like minutes before all that happened, they nearly all died.
Well, not only that, their song lasted so long.
It did.
It was like a 4.5 minute long song. They kept showing that one specific dancer too, and I was like, "Oh, she's going to be a prominent part of the storyline." Nope.
No.
Wasn't that the one still screaming her head off too?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought it. Yes, that is the one who's screaming her head off.
I won't lie, she kind of looked like a baddie. I'll be honest, she kind of looked like a baddie.
I mean,
her, and the other really beautiful woman in this movie,
Godzilla.
Both of them are Bond girls from You Only Live Twice.
Of course.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's rad.
So we got 2 James Bond girls in this movie.
Yeah, we have one of the most drawn out lullabies that I've ever seen in film. Ever. Like I'm talking they spent like
not that I wouldn't mind. One with older movies, there's always a little bit more like, this scene could have been cut in half.
Yeah.
That nowadays we would do.
Right.
But for me, I'm just like, I don't mind this whole like lullaby thing if it's kind of like lulling them in. But it was the fact that then all of a sudden they're just going full, just banging on the drums, just getting it. And just like, man, if I was Kong, I'd pop back up. I'd be so pissed. I'm like, I just fucking saved y'all. And I'm trying to take a nap here on the beach after I have my juice box. And now you're making me wake up.
Yeah, he was like passed out the moment he hit the ground.
Yeah, he hit the ground pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like he went down heavy.
Well, I mean,
on his
also
ass.
they're doing that to emphasize size.
Yeah, I love that he doesn't just.
King Kong is significantly taller in this than he was in his original 1933.
Yeah, in this version he was 45 meters tall.
And the original's 15 meters.
Was that really all it was? I thought it was.
Yeah, I think it's 15 meters is the first one.
Let's see. I'm going to Wikizilla. We're not sponsored by them, but I would like to be. Let's see. King Kong from the RKO films. He was around 50 feet in height. So 50 feet to meters is 15 meters tall.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Now 50 meters to feet for our academics is 164 feet. Or no, sorry, 45 meters. He was 45 meters tall. Godzilla was 50 meters. So
yes,
45 meters is just shy of 150 feet. So
they wanted Kong to be a little bit smaller than Godzilla.
Big boy. Well, also, can we appreciate, like when he showed up, he was looking over the wall that they had built out of, sticks.
He tore that wall down like the way I thought the original Kong should have. So I feel like they were like, no, he'd rip the fuck out of that wall.
But again, it wasn't the same wall though. It was a wall of sticks. Now, here's something. I really appreciate that they managed to neatly wrap up about 3/4 of the King Kong film from 1933 in like 20 minutes.
Here's the thing though. I want to talk about how they get on the island real quick. And then just their first interaction with the tribal people.
Yeah.
They gave them a radio and cigarettes.
They gave one of the children cigarettes.
Yes, they did.
And the guy was like, hey, don't tell your mom.
Like, these guys are fine. They're cool.
Bro.
They're so cool, we're going to let them take our god for no reason.
You've seen
They let them take Kong without any resistance.
You guys have seen that, what's that Star Trek show that Seth MacFarlane did? Orville. There's a scene in the Orville where it's got 2 of like the Klingon type characters that are trying cigarettes for the first time. Uh-huh. That's all I was thinking of the entire time I saw them just like passing around cigarettes and just, oh yeah.
Oh no, I didn't see it.
Hold on. I'm going to pull this up because you guys need the context for this. So
I'm all about it. I remember this episode vaguely.
I've never watched anything from the Orville other than like a couple snippets here and there.
It is a great show.
That's what I've heard.
It's really well done.
It's a better Star Trek than Star Trek is at this point, is what I've heard. Cigarettes.
So, one of the things that's fascinating about this movie was they built all those water scenes were filmed in a giant water tank that was on the set.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually pretty cool.
It was massive. Absolutely massive. And I was pretty impressed at what they were able to do. I fucking loved it.
500 cigarettes.
So that scene, now that you get the context, Jose, that is all I was seeing the entire time they were passing around the cigarettes to the natives.
It's pretty perfect.
God.
And they're all like, because like, it's like, yeah, oh my God, he's got a radio and some cigarettes. Fuck yeah, man. Hey, you know what? We don't need that big monkey.
We used to have tobacco on the island.
We had some leaves we used to smoke, but Kong rolled it all up.
Fuck, all of these berries were growing this shit. That's what they might as well have done.
And
I want to flash forward to like 10 years and they're all just chain smoking.
Chain smoking while they're listening to the same 3 songs on loop. And then the radio dies and they go into all-out war.
They do. They actually get into a full-on civil war on the island because one island wants the radio and the other half wants the cigarettes.
It's a really tragic sequel. It was hard to watch. It was the basis for Gulliver's Travels, actually. All right. So
I want to talk about something real quick before we get too much deeper. So I've talked about how I hated the way that Kong looks in this movie.
Yeah.
Dude,
this is my least favorite design of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Out of
Really?
everything.
I
hate this design. I hate it. It's my least favorite Godzilla. I hate this wide mouth iguana fucking looking Muppet piece of shit.
You know what? Even like watching it, like it's when you look at him like in his front profile, like straight on.
It's jarring. It's upsetting.
The side profile is fine, but yeah, it's way more jarring when you're looking at
his mouth, he looks like
it was on a hinge.
It's weird. His mouth is flat and almost comes to a point like a Simpsons character.
Well, and it very much was on a hinge. You could tell anytime he was roaring.
Oh, absolutely it was.
You say Simpsons character, and that's like, okay, you remember Beetlejuice when what was her name? I can't forget her name. Not Delia. The 2 ghosts, the husband and the wife.
Oh yeah.
Those scary faces.
Yeah.
Her reminds me of the way Kong is. This fucking puppet or the suit. That's what his lips look like.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, King Kong. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They
look like
everything just feels really weird. Like it's just the level of quality is not there. Now I will say, what I do like about Godzilla, the rest of the body is fine. Because the rest of the body really is the Godzilla that we know for pretty much the rest of the Showa era.
Right.
We've got the extended, the thumb matches the length of the claws, the fingers. The claws are more defined. I will say that this movie handles the fact that the past 2 Godzilla movies were in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're like, all right, now we're in color. What are we going to do? And I mean, this is the first time that we see Godzilla with the blue atomic breath and the lit up dorsal fins.
I thought that was so cool to see. Like, I know that's a thing in all the movies nowadays. I didn't realize that went back that far.
Yeah. Well, because remember, with all the Godzilla stuff before, it's been like white mist.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of like, so this is like, oh, okay, we've got to figure out what we're doing. Like, that was, I love it. And they really haven't deviated from that since, you know. Also, this movie was when we get the more iconic Godzilla roar. This is when that's when that kind of came into its own. They changed it from the kind of growl, almost like deeper roar, and this is where we get the more tinny kind of head voice roar that everybody knows Godzilla for. Came from this movie.
All right. I thought that was just carried on from the first one. I didn't know.
I mean, they did have
Yeah,
kind of,
so-
not the same though.
They're a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with once again talking about Honda with the design, a lot of the stuff, because he came back to do this one. He hated the way that they made Godzilla sound, and he didn't like the way that he looked. Like, he had so many gripes with this movie. He hated that they were going for a jokey, fun version of Godzilla, and they're like, you made him not scary anymore. No one's afraid of him.
Interesting.
Like, and he hated that.
So, we moving back to the mainland, we get one of those quick updates from like Space Station UN, and they're like, "Hey guys, so listen, while that's all fun, what's going on Skull Island, getting addicted to tobacco and really shitty music. Godzilla's making his way to the mainland, and well,
And so is Kong.
buckle up."
Like,
But don't worry, we have a plan. We're gonna have Big Monkey fight against the Big Lizard.
Also,
oh, go ahead, Jose.
one of my favorite things about the movie. I like the way it plays out not as a linear movie. It's playing out as like a show. Like, we go into this newscast and be like, let's see what's happening over here. Oh, okay, we updated them. Let's see what's going on over here.
So that's what I was talking about before you jumped in. That it's meant to feel like a wrestling match or like a fight where you're like, all right, round one was really crazy. Let's go to the reporters and see what they all think. Let's go to the judges and see what they think. And you're getting this weird play-by-play.
Yeah.
And I was telling Mark, it's funny because the way they advertised this movie, they did an entire press conference where they had Godzilla and King Kong on stage with a fight announcer, and they were shit-talking one another.
What the fuck? No way.
Yes, absolutely. So there was this big thing when they're talking about the guys in the suit who actually choreographed all the fight scenes and stuff, and they had to relearn how to fight in these suits because the past ones have been more fighting, kind of animalistic. You're on the ground and like kind of being a little bit more primal with what they were doing, while this one, they're fighting like humans.
Yeah, they're just fist fighting.
Dude,
They're straight fist fighting, punching each other. There's kicks, rock throwing,
Jamming a tree down his throat.
This movie's done to feel like a fight, and so everything was redone, like the way the fighting was done to feel more human. And I don't know if you noticed, Jose, but there's a reoccurring theme throughout this movie that whoever has the high ground wins.
Yeah, I did.
So, with the fact that we've got giant monkey and giant lizard heading towards the mainland,
The most ridiculous giant lizard that we've ever had.
yeah,
Quite literal.
What a goofball.
all of them are
So
like,
fucking goofy.
we've gotta,
What I was gonna say with the tree branch,
yeah,
or the full-on tree, that was a callback to one of the posters from the original King Kong,
Okay.
where he's jamming the tree in the T-Rex's mouth.
Okay, that's cool.
Or Kong does it to. Okay.
Yeah. So, the boss is like, the boss is heading to the mainland with the intention of using King Kong as a marketing tool for his pharmaceutical berries, right? And
his pharmaceutical TV company,
And his
he wants ratings.
right. And the fucking government shows up and is like, dude, no, what are you
You can't bring Kong onto the
out of your damn mind?
But he's mine.
He's like a kid, just like, it's my toy.
But
Somebody's going to have to be responsible for Kong.
But he's mine.
Somebody's going to have to be responsible for any damages that this giant monkey does. But he's mine. And
But he's mine.
And then as they're getting ready to arrest the boss, the government, the big boys in the government are like, why don't we just use Kong as to fight Godzilla? Why don't we use the monkey to fight the lizard? And they're like, that's not a bad idea. As King Kong is waking up
starts waking up, and then they're like, you know what, we should blow him up. And then
second thought, he's too strong.
Second thought, from my pal and I wearing these very trendy Hawaiian shirts on a military mission, let's shoot him. Let's first try to detonate. Doesn't work. So then let's just shoot him.
Yep.
So which then turns into the most comical. Oh, you missed. Oh, you missed. As the boss is actively like knocking their rifles to try to make them miss. I'm like, this dude's crazy.
It's Carl Denham. This is the kind of shit that Carl Denham would do.
Yeah, but Carl Denham at least was like, no, if you're gonna shoot him in that way so I can get a good angle of him. I gotta get pictures.
Well, and then what I love. So they blow King Kong up. He falls in the water, right? And then
they just jumps right back up and looks like a wet dog.
They recreated the ending of Godzilla 54.
A little bit, yeah.
They send Godzilla to fucking melt in the ocean, and he pops up all pissed off, and just kind of like, and then King Kong's like, fuck this, I'm out, and he heads towards the mainland, and well,
can we talk about? So the one callback that they did talk about, that clearly they had dealt, that where they show their hand that they have dealt with Godzilla before, even though nobody seems to want to talk about his attacks before, is that they're like, oh, well, Godzilla doesn't do well with electricity. And it's like, wait a minute. Godzilla destroyed the electric wires like nothing.
Yes.
They're like, yeah. And then they're like, and then they subtly are like, oh, we just didn't have the voltage right. Let's put millions of volts.
Now, I'm having a hard time remembering.
And I thought it was so funny. It's like, how fast did the military get to set this shit up?
No, yeah, seriously.
They put those wires up so fast, and it works. They don't like it.
Well, here's my question.
Until King Kong's just like, electricity.
Like they even mention, they mention as like with Godzilla not doing well with electricity. They even mention, but electricity seems to give a supercharge to Kong, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. What?
How the fuck do you know that?
First of all, what kind of bullshit is this? Second of all, why do you know about it? And yeah, sure, as you said, he just starts chowing down on some electrical wires while
So one, also on top of that, I thought the encounter that Godzilla had with the train was so funny. Because I've never seen Godzilla more lethargically just go, there's a train.
I'm gonna get the train.
I'm gonna get that train. And everybody survived. Nobody died.
Nobody died. It wasn't even that horrible. And it's also one of the scene from one of the actresses that annoyed the hell out of me for some damn reason. The
girlfriend.
She was overacting nothing.
Here's the thing. She was acting as if Godzilla was scary, which I'm gonna give it to her. Good for you. You kind of you understood the assignment and you were done dirty. Like, you should have been in one of the earlier films. You would have been amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
But she's just overacting because Godzilla's not scary.
Yep.
It's
so. I love that they both got their train moment, because they both did get train moments in their first movie, right?
That scene with Kong holding up the train and looking into it, it looks so bad. Dude. And then the whole scene where he's holding the girl. Oh my God, did y'all listen to the lines that girl was screaming at Kong?
No.
Oh my God, it was some of the funniest things. Hey, put me down! What are you doing? Put me down! Like, a level of ridiculousness. I was cackling. I thought it was so funny.
Here's the thing: is I've mentioned this. I think first of all, I'm pretty sure Kong accidentally killed more people than Godzilla did.
100%. And Kong is supposed to be the good guy in this movie.
Right.
He killed way more people. The only people who died on Godzilla's side was military people.
Right. That were,
Which,
shooting at him.
Not to say like those people don't matter, but Godzilla didn't kill civilians.
No.
Yeah, he didn't.
Well, and I said this in an earlier film. I would love for one of the kaiju to pick up a train and use it like nunchucks. So when I saw King Kong picking up a train, I was like, there's no way this is happening. And then I was let down. I was so let down. But also, like, I really do appreciate that they gave him the whole Beauty and the Beast aspect from the original for just a couple minutes, where he's holding the girl and she's just like, hey,
they
you,
paid their due diligence.
stop,
Like,
don't do this. What? You're a little bit bigger than the original one. That Kong penis is not gonna fit. And
why are you doing the scene like you're what's her name in Young Frankenstein?
Oh, it's Twu. It's Twu.
It's Twu.
That's not the right movie, is it? That's Blazing Saddles. But
you might as well.
Yeah,
no, because she starts singing opera.
Yeah,
when she's getting.
So yeah, we finally get the two titans are finally meeting, and King Kong just runs away like a bitch.
Oh, okay.
Well, because he doesn't have the high ground. He doesn't have the high ground.
He runs.
Doesn't have the high ground.
He runs and hides.
Just all before he saw Godzilla again. Many rocks were thrown. Godzilla throws like 2 rocks. Does the blast, and immediately after, Kong's like, "Oh, I'm burned." And
Like, I love it. Yeah, he's just
his head.
he's patting himself.
He just walks away.
He just pats himself off with the fire and just moves on. And I love, like, he goes and he hides, and then Godzilla like walks past to go up a hill, and he tries a sneak attack on him.
Yep.
And then, as Godzilla's trying to scramble up the hill, Kong's like, bitch, you ain't running away from this ass whooping, and pulls him back down, and then gets his ass soundly whooped.
It's just so great.
Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, if there hadn't been this bullshit Frankenstein aspect that they tried to insert to King Kong, he would have died in this film.
Oh, absolutely.
Kong should not have survived this film, but the movie makers gave him the craziest plot armor I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Like, to the point where he's just full on, just like charged with electricity to the point where he's Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I mean, I'm gonna be real with you here. There's really not much that happens between there's the 2 fights between Kong and Godzilla. One happens like on the mainland, and then the other happens they decide to move it. They move the fight to an abandoned island type thing. And there's not really much that happens between that. It's kind of like when they kept flying back and forth to Hokkaido to refuel in Godzilla Raids again. So I don't think we need to go over much there, but like just the fact that this fight was so, like, I thought Anguirus versus Godzilla was ridiculous because his shell kept flopping off, and it was very clearly a person in a suit running around on their hands and knees. But holy shit, this fight scene was something else, man.
Yeah, you can say that.
This movie was straight up. This was a 4-year-old laying on his bedroom floor with 2 action figures and just smashing them together. That's all this fight was.
But it was meant. This movie is for kids.
I get
like,
it. No,
yeah,
I get it.
Absolutely is.
There is nothing that I love more than a fight scene that feels like a bunch of kids fighting with their action figures. Like, when I
mean, it's why you love Power Rangers.
Exactly, it's why I love Power Rangers, it's why I love Godzillas. In the Avengers Age of Ultron, I know it was not very well received, but that opening scene was fucking beautiful because it was just a
like
child.
a comic book.
It was a child playing with action figures. Like, and then Captain America's gonna do a front flip over the bike and then throw the bike. No, you can't do that. You can't. That's not fair.
Too bad.
It's too bad. I'm the good guys. You're the bad guys. You have to lose.
They're my toys. It's my house.
Captain America can do whatever he wants.
Captain America.
He's America.
He's American and he's a good guy. Well, my King Kong got hit by lightning, so now he's alive again. And that sums up the movie basically.
And that's it.
That's all it was a 4-year-old, 2 4-year-olds fighting with action figures. And well, my Godzilla breathes fire. Well, my King Kong has opposable thumbs.
Yeah, because Godzilla was totally going to win that last fight.
Godzilla.
We're not even mentioning the fact that King Kong comes flying in on fucking hot air balloons practically.
Oh, that's right. That's how they. I forgot. That's how they moved it.
That's how they put him up on the fucking mountain for their last fight. They're just like, put him on balloons.
We're gonna use
just
hotter.
Load him in.
Hey, you've got that really, really durable sewing thread still, right? Oh yeah,
let's not forget about the crazy high tension.
This one spool.
Metal.
This one spool that I have. Yeah, let's use that. God, it was right up there with. It was up there with when I was watching Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla with Angel a couple weeks ago, and they're like, it's space titanium. You don't say, Doc.
That's
no way.
Exactly what happened.
And I love that they're like, okay, he's on the drop point. How are we gonna get him down? Let's just set off some explosions, let him free fall. He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. And then he slides bare ass down the mountain, and then he hops up, scratches his ass, and I thought that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I'll tell you what, if he didn't have a bare ass before landing on that mountain, he had a bare ass after landing on that mountain. And
so funny.
This movie, I get it was made for kids, but I loved watching just these two grown-ass paid actors just beating the shit out of each other, dressed as a giant lizard and a giant monkey.
They absolutely kept them in the suits for all the flips and the slams. That was not just a mannequin like they would do in like later movies and stuff. They had the actors, straight up just taking those full body hits to the ground.
Yeah, they were taking bumps. That's crazy.
There was So there was
they
one
had them
moment.
on wires. A lot of the shots they'd have them in wires. Like when Kong's flipping like Godzilla around by the tail. Like he's in the suit.
They just have a dude. They just have him hanging from one of those big ass industrial fans, and they're just spinning him around the room. Yeah. So, all right. So
as I will say, this movie was a fuck ton of fun.
Yeah.
It's just not.
It's not a good movie.
It's just not my favorite. It's my least favorite.
Damn.
I think I like this movie. I like this movie more than Raids again.
Well, then it's not your least favorite, dumbass.
But it's my least favorite out of the verses.
Fair enough. So, I will say the other criminal moment of stop animation transition that happened is this scene when they're fighting and Godzilla does that like forward front flip to kick him in the chest.
Yeah.
And it turns to stop animation so abruptly and then back so abruptly.
Very abruptly. Doesn't look good.
It was...
Also, did y'all like any the very clear as day hand puppets they used for the far away shots of them fighting?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like it straight up looked like the hand puppets from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, just duking it out in the background.
You know what? I would watch that.
I would too.
Whole Godzilla Kong puppet. That would be so great.
This whole film was just much like Kong with the 9 o'clock in the evening. It was a train wreck. But I would rewatch this train wreck in a heartbeat. I
would too. I will say, as much as it's not my favorite, it it's still a fun watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what does that mean? Like, it's I'll love you in every universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're a bad film. You're not that great, but I'll love you in every universe.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's like the first big crossover fight scene. Fuck. It's like the first big crossover movie that we got back in the like.
Well, so the only other, I mean, there were some crossover movies, but like kind of like the thing is, the reason why Kong was made the hero in this movie is because he was the biggest name on the bill.
Right.
Like King Kong was massive in Japan.
Well, it's like most of the Godzilla stuff. He was the second one billed all the way up until like the Champion series, wasn't he? Like it was King Kong versus Godzilla, Mothra versus Godzilla.
Right. Godzilla wasn't the main name that was on the verses.
Well, and he wasn't even that big of a name at this point. Like he was obviously he was a big enough name that people wanted to see him, but like there were
big enough that he got a trilogy originally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, out of like King Kong and Godzilla, King Kong was so famous.
Yeah, well, he was, like, in all fairness, he was like the first major monster.
This movie, they overpacked movie theaters. You couldn't get a seat to this. They had people standing in aisles to see it.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, I'm not trying to downplay this movie at all. Like, this movie, like, this is why we have the Godzilla movies that we have. Without this movie, we don't have Godzilla franchise as we know it.
Right.
For better or for worse. I know there's a lot of the Showa stuff that people don't like, but the thing about the Showa series is they're so ridiculous and fun.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like I have to say, there are a lot of movies out there that are really well made, but they're not fun movies. I would rather go to a theater. Like if I'm going to spend my good money, my well hard-earned cash on a film, I want it to be a film that I have fun watching. And Godzilla versus King Kong versus Godzilla, while yes, it's not a good movie, it's one that I would have gone if I was in theaters watching it. I'd be throwing popcorn at the screen, going "Fuck yeah, King Kong," and then go and clean up my mess because I'm not an asshole. But you know, you get the
you are, but
well, not as big. Yeah,
yeah,
and
also, I mean. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the one thing that I will say, like, respect to them for doing it this way, is we don't see Godzilla die on screen.
Well, we don't see him die. He just loses.
We just assume that they just kind of assume that he's gone now, right? But
the thing is, like, Godzilla's amphibious, so he can just swim away. Kong has to surface.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's the thing. It's like Kong for sure wins this fight.
And that's the thing is this one played out.
Kong's also the hero of this movie.
Right. This one, the ending played out much like I was talking to Angel about this earlier. It played out the same way as Freddy versus Jason. At the end of it, Jason was the clear winner, but you're like, okay, but like it's Freddy. He's not dead. He even like I think his head winked at the camera at the end. It's basically what they did.
He pulled a Deadpool.
Yeah. So,
well, technically, Deadpool pulled a Freddy.
Or yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, but yeah. So like, I like that they played it off like you said. There was a clear winner. There was a clear loser, but they were very careful not to be like, okay, they're dead.
Right. That's that's not the point.
Because they've done that twice now in Godzilla films at this point.
Right, where it's like, well, and also sets up the crazy trope that Godzilla just never dies.
Right.
Yeah.
even in Godzilla versus Destroya, like, Godzilla dies, and then immediately they're like, what about baby Godzilla? I'm like, oh shit.
I haven't seen that one yet. You just ruined it. Thank you.
Oh, don't worry. You'll forget by the time we get there, and it'll still hurt.
When it's gonna hurt when Godzilla dies?
I cry. I
Well, you're
cry
a
every
bitch,
time
though.
at the end of it. Yeah, I'm your bitch.
Oh, okay.
So really, like the last, I don't have much else to add to this movie. Like, it was a very fun movie. It was definitely filled with a lot of like racially insensitive things by today's standards, which they played for comedic effect back then.
Oh, for sure.
But like I said, it is one that I would watch again. It's one that I would have, if I was alive back then, I would have probably gone and seen in theaters.
Most definitely.
And this really, it's setting the bar real low for me going forward, and I'm excited for hitting that low bar.
I mean, I guess the bar is the lowest with this one.
Like, I'm ready to see Godzilla trip over some low bars going forward.
The only low bar that I really see is like the one where it was mostly about baby Godzilla being bullied on Monster Island.
Is that Son of Godzilla?
Yeah, or
Oh,
something.
boy.
It's one of those. It's a weird movie.
I'm looking forward to all of them.
Oh, that's the one you were telling me, Brandon, about the kid was like daydreaming or
There is a child. Yeah, the child is being bullied at school and daydreams about baby Godzilla and how he deals with the monsters on Monster Island and equates him to being baby Godzilla and him also being bullied.
My God.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So wait, the whole movie's just some kid's like idea?
Yeah, that's it. It's a St. Elmo's like or St. Elsewhere.
I don't know that
Like,
one.
essentially.
I'm gonna equate it to the final.
St. Elsewhere is a TV show where his dad is a brilliant doctor in a hospital, and then the series ends, and it comes to find out that the kid is like autistic and doesn't talk, and his dad's a drunk, and he envisions that his dad is this brilliant doctor.
I'm gonna imagine it like the final fight from the Twilight movies that turns out to be like just a vision that somebody had.
That's the craziest fucking thing.